Diary of Jonathan W. Blake, December 3, 1843. The first snow of winter arrived today, blanketing our small village in a peaceful white silence. It reminds me of my youth, sledding down the hills with my brother. However, the townsfolk are uneasy. They whisper of the ghostly woman who roams the countryside during snowstorms, luring the unwary to their deaths. I have never given much credence to these tales, but there is an undeniable chill in the air, as if the very wind carries a warning. December 7, 1843, another traveler has gone missing. Mr. Higgins, a merchant from the neighboring town, was last seen departing our village just as the snow began to fall heavily. His wife arrived today, frantic with worry. Search parties have scoured the area, but there is no trace of him. Some say the ghostly woman has claimed another victim, but I remain skeptical. The snowstorm was fierce, perhaps he simply lost his way. December 10, 1843, the village is in mourning. Mr. Higgins' body was found this morning, frozen and lifeless, a look of terror etched on his face. The searchers reported seeing strange tracks around his body, as if a woman's bare feet had danced around him in the snow. The old folk are adamant it is her doing, the ghostly woman with her icy breath. I cannot shake the feeling that there is more to these stories than mere superstition. December 15, 1843, snowstorms have been relentless this week, each one fiercer than the last. I ventured to the edge of the village today to help secure the livestock. The wind was howling, and the snow stung my face. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw a figure, a woman, pale and ethereal, moving gracefully through the storm. When I turned to look directly, she was gone. Perhaps my mind is playing tricks on me, but I could not shake the feeling of being watched. December 18, 1843, young Tommy Wright has disappeared. He was sent by his mother to fetch water from the well, but never returned. The well is not far, but the storm had picked up again. Search parties are out, but I fear the worst. Mrs. Wright is inconsolable, and the village is gripped with fear. They speak of the ghostly woman as if she were a real, living threat. I am beginning to wonder if there is truth to these old legends. December 20, 1843, Tommy was found near the old mill, frozen like Mr. Higgins, with the same look of terror on his face. The tracks were there again, barefoot prints circling his body, too delicate for any mortal woman to make in such weather. The villagers are in a panic. They want to leave offerings to appease the spirit, but what can calm a ghost driven by vengeance or sorrow? December 22, 1843, I spoke with Old Man Miller today. He claims to know the origin of the ghostly woman. He says she was once a beautiful young maiden named Eliza, who lived here over 50 years ago. Eliza fell in love with a traveler, a handsome and charming man, who promised to return far after his business in the city was concluded. She waited for him through the winter, braving the snow and cold each night at the edge of the village. But he never returned. Heartbroken and desperate, she ventured out into a fierce snowstorm to search for him, never to be seen again, alive, that is. December 25, 1843, Christmas has come, but the usual joy is absent from our village. Fear and sorrow have taken its place. I spent the day with the Wright family, helping them keep their spirits up. As the storm began to rage once more in the evening, we heard whispers on the wind, a soft, mournful singing. Some say it is Eliza, still searching for her lost love, her sorrow turning to malice against those who wander the snowy paths alone. December 27, 1843, I cannot ignore it any longer. Tonight, I will venture out into the storm to see if I can lay eyes upon this ghostly woman myself. I do not intend to challenge her, but if there is a way to end her suffering and protect our village, I must find it. My dear friend Thomas has agreed to accompany me, despite his own fear. We will be cautious and respectful, but I fear what we might discover. December 28, 1843, it was a harrowing night. Thomas and I set out just as the snow began to fall thickly. The wind was like knives against our skin, and visibility was nearly non-existent. We headed towards the old mill, where the last sighting was reported. As we walked, we heard a faint singing, so hauntingly beautiful it stopped us in our tracks. And then, through the swirling snow, she appeared. Eliza. She was more beautiful and tragic than any tale had described. Her eyes were like dark pools, reflecting endless sorrow, and her lips moved in a silent plea. She reached out to us, her breath like a freezing mist. Thomas was rooted to the spot, but I forced myself to speak. Eliza, I called out. We know your story. We wish to help you find peace. Her expression softened for a moment, and she seemed almost human again. But then, as if the storm itself grew angrier, her face twisted with rage. She lunged towards us, and we fled, barely escaping with our lives. December 30th, 1843, we have decided to seek out the old priest, Father O'Malley. He resides in a remote abbey a day's journey from here. If anyone knows how to lay a restless spirit to rest, it will be him. We will leave tomorrow, despite the heavy snowfall. I only hope we can return with the knowledge needed to save our village and end Eliza's torment. January 2nd, 1844, Father O'Malley was a frail, but wise man. He listened to our tale with grave concern. He believes Eliza's spirit is bound to the place of her greatest sorrow, the old mill. There, we must perform a ritual of release, speaking words of forgiveness and offering a token of her lost love. He gave us a silver locket, said to belong to Eliza, found in the possession of her wayward lover years after her disappearance. We set out at dawn, hoping to reach the mill before nightfall. January 3rd, 1844, the storm was fierce, but we made it to the mill. The wind howled like a living creature, and Eliza's mournful song echoed through the air. Thomas and I began the ritual, our voices barely audible over the storm. We spoke the words Father O'Malley had taught us and placed the locket in the snow. Eliza appeared, her eyes wide with recognition and sorrow. As we finished the incantation, she reached out to the locket. Her form began to dissolve into the snow, her expression one of peace and release. The storm subsided, and the air grew still. January 5th, 1844, the village is calm once more. There have been no more disappearances, and the snowstorms have lessened in their fury. The legend of Eliza, the ghostly woman, will live on, but as a cautionary tale rather than a present threat. I feel a deep sense of relief, knowing we have ended her suffering and saved others from her tragic fate. Perhaps now, she can find the rest she was denied in life.